when I was actually looking for a job, there were several accounting firms who were actually not doing any sponsorship for international students. So H-1B wasn't a thing, which as an international student, you need that to work in the States.
Hi, Favor. Thank you so much for being on my podcast today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. What a pleasure.
Thank you. So, Favor is the Director of Tax Growth in Legal Advisors. So, Favor, before we go into further your CPA journey, can you please introduce a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, happy to. Thanks again for having me, Rosie. My name is Favor Lee. I'm an auditor turned business developer slash growth strategist. I currently oversee the growth initiative of our tax planning and consultation team within a fast growing national wealth management firm called Lido. And outside of work, I love serving the community. So I'm very involved in the various CPA societies, including AICPA and CIMA, Texas Society and the Dallas chapter. Love spending time with my family, mother of two, wife of one, and just love traveling. On a personal note, I love statement earrings. So this is a little bit more for work. I love bigger the better kind of statement earrings. I love, but yeah, that's my fun fact as well.
That's amazing. We can dive in a lot more fun fact later in this conversation, but I want to start the discussion about your very early career stage. Let's go back from very beginning of your college. Why did you even decide to go with accounting, not finance, not business?
Great question. So it's interesting. I grew up in Korea, South Korea, and I moved here when I was 20 years old by myself for a 1 year college. I got a scholarship through Rotary International, which I'm so grateful for. So it was a 1 year gig. I thought, okay, what do I want to do? So when I was in Korea, I was in the College of Engineering, and I was like, this ain't it. And when I was moving here, I thought, you know what? I love business. In general, I just love business, fell in love with business as long as I could remember. Ever since I was a young kiddo, I knew that I had the entrepreneurial spirit in me. So I was like, okay, College of Business is it. And then within business, I was actually going to do marketing. Then several of my friends were talking about their career journey, where they want to get to and such. And it was funny. They asked me like, "Oh, so you're studying marketing?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, it's so fascinating. I'm super excited." And they're like, "Have you tried accounting?" I was like, "Accounting? Interesting. Okay, like I took some classes." And they're like, "If you want to get really good job, you should do accounting." So back then when I was 20, I don't know much. I was like, oh, really? Like you could get a job. And I was an international student. So that's another thing too. So I'm like, oh, yeah, stable job is really important for me. So that's how I got into accounting. And if I reflect back on, my mom was an accountant in Korea. So it wasn't like a foreign land to me. I knew that there was a profession around it. It's just that I never imagined myself doing accounting up until that point.
Interesting that your friend recommended you to do accounting because my mom actually advised me to do accounting because she
Oh,
has her business in Vietnam. But then her plan was to have me study accounting to work for her. I ended up with not working for her, of course, as you can see.
never say never. You never know.
That's true, though. I did help her here and there, and did work with her a little bit, but it's just very different when you work with family members. I have to
Oh,
say that.
I
A
could
lot
only
of
imagine. I've never worked with family members, but yeah, I like to keep family aside from work and profession, if
I like
possible.
it. It's actually a very good point that you should separate it. It helped a lot with like family relationship and business work relationship as well. But I like you meant the fact that you mentioned that you were international student when you came to US as well. And did you face any challenge to find a job after you graduate in accounting?
Yeah, it was an interesting time. So it was '07 when I graduated. So talking about the global financial crisis and all that jazz. I mean, it was quite an interesting moment. So when I was actually looking for a job, there were several accounting firms who were actually not doing any sponsorship for international students. So H-1B wasn't a thing, which as an international student, you need that to work in the States. So there were some challenges in that way, but thankfully, there were still firms out there who were sponsoring those visas. So I was able to get a position through Deloitte. But yeah, there were several firms, big firms, who stopped sponsoring visas, the working visas
Yeah,
during
I
that
asked
time.
because I started as an international student as well, and I had a really difficult time finding a sponsorship. Like really difficult. I went through three companies who promised to sponsor me, end up with not sponsoring me, not because of my
Oh,
work
jeez.
performance, not because that they didn't like me, just because they didn't want to spend money, time, effort on the sponsors in the sponsorship process, because as you know, it's not just always, hey, I sponsor you for sure that you will have the visa. It's also go is you also need to go through lottery route as well,
Hmm.
and they just randomly pick as well. And I was like, they was like, it's not worth it if you have to go through lottery route as well. And I was like, all right, fine, I will just keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. There are times though, I think it recurs as there's things that are going in the market and such, when there's uncertainty, it's harder for the business. I mean, it's a business decision, right? To your point, they're risking quite a bit financially and all that. They have to pour into the employees when they join. And if they go through lottery system and if they don't get the spot, like then where do they recoup that investment that the company
Exactly.
did? So totally understood. Yeah, it was just such a blessing to get the sponsorship. But yeah, it was tough because from the get-go, the firms were telling me, we don't sponsor anymore.
Yeah,
So it
that's
was pretty limited, but thankfully there were a few still who was open to doing it.
Yeah, that's a challenge as an international student. So, and then you end up working at Deloitte for almost 5 years, moving up from staff to audit manager. Can you share
Yes.
your experience when you work at Deloitte?
Yeah, absolutely. So my experience at Deloitte was amazing in a sense where I just learned so much. It's like it was the best training ground for me because I get to absorb and learn everything, the technical side of things, the leadership skills, just the people skills. So it was a really great training ground for me. There was a time when I had a really difficult staff, shouldn't be named, but through him, I actually grown so much. And it was when I was newly promoted manager, and I was working with the staff, and there were personal things that was going on, so it wasn't really specific for that for my working relationship, but that spilled over to the workplace as well. So during that time, it was really tough. As a new manager, you're trying to make sure everything's, the ball, you're not dropping anything and all that, and having to manage the people aspect of it. It was my first time actually facing that, but through that, I feel like I've really grown to really have empathy, really to meet people where they're at, and being able to kind of lend your hand when needed, above and beyond just the technical, just the work paper. It was really just human connection type that I've learned during that hard time. But it was tough going through it. I'll tell you, it was tough.
How long did it take you to go through it?
I would say, if I guess it right, I think about 6 months or so. So it was quite a duration where the situation got worse. And I had to deal with the HR, my boss and such. And he ended up leaving on his own. But even through that, I just, became a big, better leader because I had that hardship, because I went through that and knowing, wow, these are the things that really pops up when you're managing the team. How do you deal with the difficult people and having a difficult conversation? All those, within that short period of time, I've learned quite a bit, I would say.
I really like to know when you went through that tough time for 6 months, what support did you have from the firm? Did he
Uh,
offer you advice, like coaching, experience coaching tips, or like courses, something like that?
Yeah, so it was so that time I had a really great manager and he kind of guided me through that time of, the transition and just he was a great coach and a mentor who I really trusted and he kind of walked me through like what needs to be done, how I could, not take it personally, but be able to move the team forward while dealing with the situation. So I had a lot of guidance from him, and I still like up to this date. I totally respect him. I get to, grab lunch and coffee once in a while with him and just enjoy those moments. But going through it was, yeah, it was really tough.
That's great that you have his support going through that tough time. I think it's really important when you have the supporting system in the workplace. When you
Oh,
go through that challenging moment, you really need some guidance that, hey, I don't know what's going on, and you just like being a manager as well, and then you had this situation. So I think that's making the that makes the working environment a lot stronger as well.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So, since you went over that challenge, you learn a lot how to be a good leader, to be better, and then you decide to leave Deloitte and then move to Polo Campero.
hmm
What made you make that decision? At the same time, why did you decide to leave public? I believe Polo is in private, right?
Uh-huh.
Why did
Yeah.
you decide to leave public? Is that because of the common issues about the hours, the stress, or because of something else that you would like to share?
Yeah. So it was a personal decision. So when I left Deloitte, I was pregnant with my first one, went back to work and realized I do want to be a stay-at-home mom. So I actually stayed home for a little while, like a year and a half, and I noticed that I'm a better mom when I'm out there working. So I went back, but I think the myth was there too, right? For me, like to be a high performer in a public accounting space, I had to be always like on it, right? So I just felt like I won't be able to balance, the work-life balance. I don't like that word, but the work-life integration. I thought being a first-time mom, it's going to be hard when I'm in public accounting. That's what I thought. So hence the reason why I specifically look for industry work. So I was in at Pollo Campero for a couple of years, and it's throughout the process it was more of a self recognition too, right? Knowing that who am I as a professional, like where do I want to be in the next few years, and trying to learn about myself as well. Being a first time mom, just got out of public accounting and starting in the industry, what I've noticed is that I actually really love public accounting, the fast pace, being surrounded by really smart, sharp people. Not saying that industry isn't, but it's different. The pace is very, very different. So for me, I really miss that part where I get to be on different projects and work with different teams and being able to pull out the financials together, as opposed to the industry, which the role that I was playing, not every industry is that way. But for me, it was more like, okay, we need month end close. Okay, we need the year end financials. Okay, like, so it was a little bit more dry. In my perspective. So for me, I knew that the public accounting space was a better fit for me overall. So after like a year and a half, which I just really had a great team that I work with at Pollo Campero. So I just kind of grew that accounting team, made them some self sufficient, and then I moved to a public accounting firm again.
I like how you say that you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom.
I tried. Bless all the hearts who could do it and do it well. I don't know. I was just going a little crazy just being at home and looking at my baby, and I just needed like a little bit more motions and adult interaction too. I just totally miss that. So I overall, looking back, definitely, I think it was a good move that I actually went back to work for my babies, for my husband, for everyone surrounding me. I think it was better.
I said that because I constantly told my husband that I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. I I just feel I just want to be like relaxing on the couch, watching TV, and then just eat all the food I want. And I was like, is that common? Is there something wrong with me? Or is that other moms would think the same? And then you told me that you would like to come back to work as well. And I was like, okay, now I doubt myself.
It's funny. I thought I was always like a very ambitious, like highly driven professional that I would never even consider being a stay-at-home mom. But
Same.
I don't know what the hormones do to you with the babies. I had like this thing in my head where like I wanted to actually be a stay-at-home mom for 3 years. That was kind of my goal in my head. Like I want to at least spend like 3 years of their early childhood, and then they could go back. They could go to daycare, and then I could go back to work. That was my original plan. After like a year and a half, I'm like, it's it's not good for anybody. Let's go back to work. And yeah, it just felt more like I was in the right place, being 100% mom when I'm at home, and the 100% professional just working at a place where I was called to be. So for me, it was a great integration that way, where I could just focus solely on different things.
Okay, so I should stop that thought then because it's in there.
Hey, try it and then see, because not everyone's built for one route, right? Everyone has different routes, different journey in their career, and I respect that. And you just have to know your gut feeling, saying like, where are you called in this season, right? It's not forever. In this season, where are you called? And for me, I thought it was a 3-year calling for me to be a stay-home mom. It wasn't.
I know. I was the same to you as you mentioned before I got pregnant. I was like I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that. I had so many plans. I was like, oh my god, yes, I want to be a mom, but at the same time I want everything else as well. And
Yes.
somehow the hormone just gave me like everything else is not that important anymore.
There's a great saying like you could have it all, just not all at once.
That's
And
true.
I truly believe in that, where especially like women, we're so strong. Yeah, if you give like 1,000 tasks, I'm sure we could do it all great on all 1,000, but not all at once, right? So being a mom, being a workplace for professional, I don't think it's always an or, like you have to choose either or. You could there are more ways nowadays like to blend it even more beautifully, but it takes time and it takes work. It doesn't come in a silver plate like, hey, here you go, you just work 50% of your time, we'll never bug you. Like it just doesn't work that way. Like you have to set your own boundaries if that's what you want to do, like having that flexible work schedule type. So I think there are ways to do it. For me, that was given actually as an option from the public accounting firm, but I just did it. I decided not to take it because I was so adamant that I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. But guess what? We're here.
I feel you. I feel you on that side. Having all that thought process and then
Yes.
wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And seems like you always stay for about 2 years in private and you come back to work in public at Eastern Emperor for 8 years and 6 months. It's a long time. And you come back start as an assurance manager and then move to business development as you mentioned in the introduction. Can you walk us through that transition from assurance manager and then becomes the director of business development, because it seems like they are very different.
Yes, very different. I love sharing this story because I think it's one of those like turning points for me in my career. So I went to, it wasn't actually Eisner Amper. Eisner Amper actually acquired Golden Pizer and Pizer, which was a local firm that I actually went in as an assurance manager. So I was doing that for a couple of years, and I had actually appendicitis, so I had to stay home. I was I was mandated to stay home, not lifting anything like over like 5 pounds or whatever. Like there was things in the medical condition like I couldn't do. Basically, I had to just like sleep and then stay in couch and eat something. So I was mandated to do that because I had the surgery. So and this was back in January, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was January. So as you know, like in the audit world, like that is the time when you like go all in, like you're planning, like finalize everything, and then like you're jumping into this busy season. And then I was stuck at home, and my kiddos were at daycare. I have two, and they were little, and they were at daycares. My husband was at work, and then it was just me and myself time, right? So it was the first time ever that I actually took a pause and say, what do I really want in my career? Right? What do I really want in my life in general? And that question popped up, and I've noticed that I really didn't feel excited to go back to work. Not because it was busy season, it was more of the work that I was doing. I love audit. I mean, still to this day, I could say I love audit. I did love what I did, but it was just like, I don't see it as a long term career for me. I never imagined myself becoming an audit partner and be like, woohoo, you know, some people are so like, that's where they want to go eventually and such. And, kudos to them. It was just not my path. So when I was staying home, I just thought about, okay, what else could I do? I love this accounting profession. I love being around people. And that was a big thing. I wanted to be more around people. Being around, our team was good, like the audit team when you're on the field. But I also wanted more of that interaction. I wanted to do, know more about the business itself that we were auditing. I wanted to get to know the CEO and CFO, the business owners at a different level. So, I started thinking, and luckily, we were trying to hire a business developer for the last year or so back then. And we just couldn't find the right one. And when the firm was looking for a business developer, we were looking for somebody very sales heavy, like not CPA experience. It was more of sales experience, right? Me, zero sales experience. Me, I could do audit, tax, not really. So it was like, okay, like I have the skill set of audit, business development, zero. I have zero experience. And I went, after I went back after the medical leave, I talked to my managing partner back then. His name is Alan. I still respect him too much. I just loved working with him, but he gave me a chance. I told him I want to do business development, and he almost fell off his chair. I could, because
Why?
he was like, because I was an auditor. Like up until like a few weeks ago, before the medical leave, I was an auditor. I was the audit manager, and then like coming in, I'm like, I want to do business development. And he was like, okay, tell me more. And so we started this talk, and he had the faith in me. I am not really sure what he saw in me, but he gave me a chance. So starting from that year of May, I cut the cord on every single audit work papers. I just kind of transfer over all the things that I was doing, all the things that, the engagements, and I left it with the audit team, and then I started business development with zero sales experience, and it was just it worked out really nicely. It's only God that I could really give credit to, but everything just kind of worked out. And I started learning about what business development is within the accounting firm, and get to meet referral sources, get to develop strategic partnership with other firms and law firms and financial advisors and such. And it was such a cool experience. And I just enjoyed so much of doing that. And then eventually, after several years, we were acquired by Eisner Amper. So I kept on doing what I was doing.